folks, and welcome in. Cricket presents the Warmup. We're here to talk Texas high school football, and it is week 2, and I'm here to talk football with the professor, Matt Diggs. He was everywhere at week 1. Professor, what did you see out of week 1 that you liked?
Well, it took me about 2 hours longer to get started than I expected. Thursday had some unexpected rain delays in the area. Got to watch Forney and Lake Highlands. Got to watch the birth of the Royce City Juggernaut on Friday, and Saturday a classic at the Star, the Jerry Jones Classic, Odessa Permian and Plano. It was a bad week for the 2 6A teams that came to the DFW area to play, but week 2 should have a lot more surprises for us.
Yes, and we start with the lineup. That's 3 games we get to talk about that you really need to know about. The first one, it could be a beauty, right? It's Desoto and North Crowley. Desoto, what happened? Georgia comes in or they go out and get pummeled by Georgia, and then North Crowley and a tight one with Lancaster. So who knows on this one? Hopefully you do, Professor.
It could be a beauty, or it could be DeSoto's 3rd straight 30 to 40 point loss. They lost to Longview to be out of the playoffs. They lost to Creekside, and this is a team they lost to Creekside. They beat Creekside by 70 last year. I know going out to Georgia, it's a little bit hard, but hearing back from some of the national pundits who are out there watching the game, they were really kind of pining on DeSoto's lack of depth. And remember, DeSoto opted up this year. They should have been in 5A Division I, but they wanted to stay in 6A. I think this year is where you're really starting to see the lack of numbers and lack of depth. That game was 70-28, and it looks even better because they had 2 kickoff returns. So DeSoto still has some of the big play elements to them, but a lot of depth issues. And North Crowley, even though they had some questions against Lancaster, I did not see that depth issue. Hayes Cloutier was a big play quarterback. He was running the ball. He was throwing the ball. Keontae Ingram got going. I think North Crowley is going to answer back because Coach Gates was challenging them after that Lancaster game. I think they're going to answer back in a big way. I see North Crowley having a pretty big margin of victory over DeSoto this week.
All right, game 2 of our 3 first up, Waxahachie at Capel. Now, Waxahachie had a big win. Anytime's a big win when you beat your arch rivals. They're taking on Capel. Tight. They did get a win, but it was very tight over Saxe. How do you see this one?
You know, Waxahachie, I've given them a little bit of business on the fact that they've yet to get a really big win over a top-tier team. They seem to beat the teams they're supposed to beat, but when it's time to step up and get into that top 10, they got to get a win. And I think this is going to be the week they're going to do it. Jerry Meyer continues to impress a quarterback. He had a big week against Ennis. Their new running back, Talon Furlow Strange, is really establishing himself at the running back. They got wide receivers for days around Waxahachie. Capel did struggle against Saxe. Carter Zingelman, though, came out as a sophomore, 322 all-purpose yards. I think they have to establish the running game, and I think Waxahachie's defense is going to be a hard defense to establish the running game against Dylan McAfee and Jaden George for Capel. If they win the game, I think we're going to look back and go, those two were really instrumental in establishing that run game. But at Waxahachie, Capel, very, very young team, I think Waxahachie is finally going to get that signature win.
All right, game 3 of these. Death, Texas, and Highland Park winning at home. Not so fast, my friend. They lost at Heath at home. So we've got Highland Park now having to go to Lovejoy. They were in a nail biter with Lubbock Cooper.
They were, and Lubbock Cooper, so you talked about death and taxes and things we don't know. Lubbock Cooper coming into the DFW or playing DFW area teams and stealing a win is right up there. They've been very, very good at that the last couple of years. It was the Jacob Janicek show over against Lubbock Cooper, and just like with Highland Park, it was the Buck Randall show. Had 399 yards and 5 touchdowns against Rockwall-Heath. Highland Park has got to establish the running game, Neil. That was a big absence against Rockwall-Heath, but Cannon Bozeman had 200 yards receiving, 4 touchdowns. I think Highland Park is going to bounce back, and it's what we were talking about earlier. The difference between 6A and 5A is huge. Highland Park against Rockwall-Heath versus a 5A Division II in Lovejoy. I think Highland Park is going to have enough depth in that because Lovejoy still has some questions, but the new wide receiver, Coleman Ray, had a pretty nice day as a sophomore. I think he's going to establish himself with Lovejoy, but I just think there's going to be too many tools for Highland Park. I think Highland Park is going to go down to Lucas and get a win against Lovejoy and kind of answer the questions about the Rockwall-Heath game.
Could you imagine Highland Park starting a year 0-2? Boy, that would be crazy.
But could you imagine DeSoto starting 0-2? That's what we're dealing with as well this week.
What's going on these days in Texas high school football? All right, that's it for the lineup. Time now for our Media Day segment. Ward Fasold talks to coaches, and who better to talk with this week than the architect of that Heath win, Mr. Rodney Webb.
The warm-up is presented by Cricket. Smile, you're on Cricket.
Cricket has jaw-dropping new unlimited plans.
Your favorite burger whenever you want it. Whataburger is open 24/7, just like you like it. Parker University. Check out our bachelor's degree in strength and human performance today.
All right, thanks a lot, Neil. Yeah, you know what? When I moved here in 2005, they told me death taxes and you do not beat Highland Park at Highland Park. I got a guest today that tells me that's not the case. You can go in there and beat them, and you can actually fall behind by 2-3 scores and still come back and beat them. Coach, talk about what you can take from that win. First of all, it's got to be a momentum deal because you guys kind of started the same way as you did last year. Boom, big fires right off the bat, kickoff return for a touchdown. I think something similar happened up in Rockwall last year. Talk to me about what you can take from this game to kind of move on to the rest of the year.
Well, you know, we've talked with our players a lot about non-district for us is full of opportunities. And opportunity number one was to beat Highland Park at their place where they've been so good for the last 26 years. And so that was a big deal for us. It doesn't get us any closer to our goals. Our goals are safe for district and beyond. But this was an opportunity. The thing that I think it gives us the most is confidence. When you go into a place like that and you overcome what we did, being down 18 at halftime, you know, that's something that you sort of put in the bank. You put it away, and then, you know, I hope we don't get ourselves in similar situations very often. But when we do, we've been there and we know how to get out of it.
No easier task this week, a short week. You're playing Thursday at home against a Prosper team who's also coming off a huge win at beating Austin Westlake. And they seem to have, I don't know what they're feeding them, but there's D1 offensive linemen all over the place. I think they said they even got some sophomores coming up that are looking like D1 guys as well, which keeps the quarterback's jersey clean. What's it going to take for you guys to get around those guys and make that jersey a little bit dirtier?
Well, I'm not really sure that you can. They're really impressive. Not only impressive up front, but just the overall physicality of their team. You know, I talked to our guys about, you know, that is the thing, the biggest takeaway that I have, knowing what I know about Prosper and watching them on film from this year is just the physicality they play with. And it starts up front on the offensive line, but it's just the strength program they have going over there is obviously really good. And that's kind of been O-line central over there for quite a while. They've produced a lot of big-time talent over there. And I think to me, it's tip of the hat to the offensive line coach over there. It's been there a long time, does a great job. And, you know, they've got really a special group this year.
It seems like it's going to be a track meet type game, back and forth where your scoreboard operator is going to be icing down his knuckles as he's pressing in these buttons left and right. I'm sending your boy Teddy Ballgame out there to shoot it because I don't have the stamina to keep up with you guys no more. Tell me your feelings about this game. Do you feel like it's the guy that has the ball last that might possibly win this one, or what do you
Gosh, think? I don't know. Every time I feel that way, you know, we play like a 9-7 game or something. So I don't really know. I certainly give both defenses a lot of credit. You know, Highland Park they are electric offensively this year, and you know they had their moments against us for sure. But I do feel like we're better defensively than what it appeared last Friday night, and I certainly have a ton of respect for the Prosper defense. You know, I've had the probably unenviable opportunity to have coached against them. I guess in the last 6 years, this is the 7th time in 6 years. At one point, it was 5 times in 3 years. So I feel like I know them really well. And when I think defense, when I think about how something holds up to a defense, I always start with, does it hold up against what Prosper does, whether we're playing them or not? I feel like in a lot of respects, they're the standard defensively in how they approach things. So I've just got a ton of respect for the job they do on both sides of the ball. And then you look, I mean, they're a state top 10 talented team, caliber team that I really think has a chance to win it all this year. So, I mean, I've got an immense amount of respect for everything that they do in every phase.
I appreciate it, Coach. Hey, we'll be out there Thursday. Well, Ted will be out there, and we'll see what you got. And thank you for joining me.
Looking forward to it. Thanks for it, as always. Appreciate you.
The warm-up is presented by Cricket. Smile, you're on Cricket.
Cricket has jaw-dropping new unlimited plans.
Whoa! the #1 selling compact tractor in Texas. For details, visit gokubota.com. Kubota, because you can. Discover what happens when rugged capability meets true performance. Kia, movement that inspires.
Thank you very much, Ward. Time now for 3 more games that we think you need to know about in our agenda. And we talk about Rockwall-Heath. They are up again. Prosper at Rockwall-Heath. How do you see this one, Professor?
Thursday night, I'm going to that game. I couldn't miss this game because it is going to be stars. I think you're going to have to get your track shoes on. Whoever we got filming the game, I hope they got the high-intensity cleats because it's going to be up and down. Prosper Neal for Rockwall-Heath, the aptly named Prosper Neal at quarterback, going to have to try to knock off his own namesake. I had a good 171 yards and 3 touchdowns against Highland Park. But one of the things that I'm really struggling with Rockwall-Heath right now is that they don't have those go-to players, whereas Prosper does have those go-to players. Braden Imhoff had a fantastic at over 300 yards. Bryce Robinson really toted the rock well against Austin Westlake, 170 yards. Dallas Boozer, Lathon Latolis had big games at wide receiver. You know who the go-to players are for Prosper. Prosper with the big win against Austin Westlake. I think that's a little bit more impressive, even more impressive than going down and beating Highland Park in Highland Park. I think Prosper is going to go to Rockwall, going to have a big night on Thursday night, and probably in like a 45-41 sort of a game, just like that Highland Park Rockwall-Heath game. I think Prosper is going to pull it off.
Yeah, if I put anything on that game, it's that it will be high scoring. I think about that. All right. Byron Nelson at Louisville, both get wins last week. How do they match up against each other this week?
You know, as much as I want to positively spin the Byron Nelson big win over Wolford Friendship, as the rest of the results came in, we started to see the Friday and Saturday games. Every District 2-6A team that came to the Metroplex lost, and most of them lost big. So I wanted to celebrate Byron Nelson. It's a big win, but I don't think it gives us that many answers. And the same thing with Louisville playing a 5A Division II school in Mansfield Summit. I think that they have some questions as well. But the question that Byron Nelson did answer this past week is who's going to be quarterback, who's going to step in. Parker Almanza, that Almanza family is just the gift that keeps giving. They are Byron Nelson Blue True, and they continue to be the fuel for Byron Nelson. If they're going to win this game against Louisville in an upset, and I think it would be an upset, Parker Almanza has to have a big game and continue the success he had against Wolford Friendship. He had 185 yards passing and 60 yards rushing, but running back has some questions, and you're going to have to establish the run against Louisville's defense. Otherwise, they're going to key in on those wide receivers. Whereas Louisville, Trey Williams and Tanel Hill, that two-pack combo is going to be huge, and I think they're going to have big games. Louisville, give me the Fighting Farmers to win at home and get their lick back from last year where Byron Nelson won that game late.
All right, our last game on the agenda, talk about a big one. Sauk beats North Shore, and then now they're going to Duncanville, and it'll be Duncanville's first game. Duncanville, I'm guessing, watching that film, they got something to look at.
They did, but we don't have anything to look at with Duncanville because they had the week off. I tried to be an antagonist on Twitter and tried to get Matter Day to come because they had their game canceled, but nobody was biting. But Mikhail Trotter, 194 yards and 2 touchdowns for Sauk. Levon Morton also had over 100 yards. So Sauk put up 300-plus yards on the ground. Jaden Williams had a nice game at quarterback, but I think they're going to need more than that. I don't think they're going to be able to run 400 yards on Duncanville's front 7. So even though we don't know what we're going to get, and Sauk has got to clean up the turnovers, even though they beat North Shore by 3 touchdowns, they still gave up 500 yards. They still had 3 turnovers. I don't think that's going to work against Duncanville. I think Duncanville is going to win a slugfest. Give me Duncanville by a score.
All right. Join us, everybody, each and every week as Cricket presents the warm-up right here each and every week with the Professor. We leave you, in fact, with the Professor's look at some area rankings in the DFW area. Enjoy your games this week. We'll see you next week.